Is the Samsung Galaxy A42 5G worth buying in 2022? Well, in this video, we're gonna find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, and this is the Samsung Galaxy A42 5G. Now this phone is not extremely old, but at the same time, it's also not very new either. And at this point, I figured it would make sense to create this video to pretty much look back on the device and reassess if at this time it still is worth getting. Now there's a lot of competition in this segment of the smartphone market, and especially even from Samsung themselves. Above this phone, we have the A52 5G, which is a really solid device. Pretty much doesn't have any compromises for the most part. It's a great phone. And then one tier below this phone, we have the A32 5G, which honestly isn't anything too special. So if you're thinking about getting this phone over an A32 5G, definitely go for this phone. And if you're thinking of getting this phone instead of an A52 5G, definitely go for the A52 5G. Now there's definitely a lot of different factors, of course, to consider. Obviously, if this phone is really on sale and the A52 5G is not, then go for this one. And obviously, beyond just those three phones that I just brought up, there are tons of other smartphones in the mid-range segment. There's different models from Samsung, for example, that are newer than this one. So a lot of different things to consider overall. But really, in the grand scheme of things, the A42 5G does bring quite a few good things to the table. But I'm really curious to know if you already own this phone. Did you get it through a carrier? Did you get it directly from Samsung? I'm really curious about that. And if you are thinking about getting this phone, are you looking to buy it used? Are you looking to get it from Samsung? How are you planning, what's your plan with this? I'm really curious to know in the comment section below, why you're here, why you're watching this video. I suppose you might be watching just for entertainment. So definitely let me know. But with the Samsung Galaxy A42 5G, we're getting a very large display here at 6.6 inches. Now the display itself is Super AMOLED, but unfortunately, and this is pretty strange, the display is 720p. So that's an interesting combination there, having a massive display, a great display technology, which is Super AMOLED, so you're getting great viewing angles, awesome colors, but then it's 720p, so that's pretty strange. That being said though, it's certainly not a bad display. It looks awesome. Now, we're getting a PPI of 266, a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor. So that's definitely something that, to this day is a very current thing to find in smartphones. 20:9 is great for content consumption, for example, because you can really fit a lot of a social media feed, for example, in just one frame, with this display being more narrow and tall. And we're getting an 84.3% screen to body ratio. So pretty small bezels all throughout. Of course, we do have a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel, and this is pretty strange. We have a water drop notch here. Now in that notch is a 20 megapixel front facing camera. And in general, the notch doesn't take up a ton of space, but it is a little bit strange that they decided to go this route versus just giving us a hole punch for the front facing camera, which I definitely would have preferred. But anyway, a 20 megapixel front facing camera, so pretty good there. We're getting 128 gigabytes of internal storage, and we're getting micro SD card expansion with that. There is no wireless charging though with the phone, so keep that in mind. But we do have an in-display fingerprint sensor, which is pretty interesting. So nice and quick there, that works very well. We also have face unlock with the phone too, so it is nice that we have multiple methods for getting into the phone. Now, one other thing I wanted to point out here, there are two different versions of the A42 5G. There's this version, which is the global version of the phone. The reason why I went that route, despite being in the US, is because this is the original version of the device that did launch first, and I wanted to get the phone right away to cover. But actually, the US model of the device is slightly different. The camera module setup is different. I believe it has one less camera, and instead you get a flash in one of these camera holes here. So with the international model of the phone, you do get a quad camera setup, but I just wanted to point that out in case there's any confusion. But you get a 48 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide at 123 degrees, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. So pretty cool that we're getting so many different cameras here with the phone. Now here's how things look through the main camera on the device. Then from here, we can switch over to the ultra wide angle camera, which lets us fit a lot more content into the frame. We have the macro camera right over here, so you can get nice and close up and take those detailed images. Of course, there's portrait mode as well to get those blurred out backgrounds that I know that everybody's a big fan of. We can switch around to the front camera as well. So there's me, and as you can see again, the background is blurred out. We can also switch over to a little bit of a wider selfie mode for group selfies, and we can switch over to the standard front-facing camera mode as well. So if you don't want portrait mode, then you definitely don't have to have it. Now as far as video recording goes with the rear camera, We do have an option for 4K at 30 frames per second. There's also 1080p and 720p. And then flipping around to the front-facing camera, we have just 1080p for the front as the maximum resolution, so something to consider as well. But in general, we are getting a lot of different camera features with this device, which I do appreciate. Now, getting into RAM and processor. Now, this device features 6 gigabytes of RAM, and it features the Qualcomm Snapdragon 750 5G processor. Now, that's a solid processor. That's really pretty much the best thing about this phone, is that we are getting a very good processor with it. It's actually the same processor that's found with the A42 5G, so pretty awesome there. So we're definitely getting a lot of value in that regard. And I did run a Geekbench 5 benchmark test here with the phone, and I'll show you the scores from that test right now. But essentially, I got a single core score of 658 and a multi-core score of 2009. So what I recommend doing is running this test on your current phone and then compare your scores to these scores to get a better idea of whether or not this phone is a performance upgrade for you. Because obviously those numbers mean nothing without having something else to compare them to. But I'm really curious to know, what do you think? Is your current phone more powerful or less powerful than the A42 5G? Definitely want to know. But in general, with that processor, you're gonna have no issues with the performance. Everything runs super well, and especially since that pretty powerful processor is powering a 720p display, even makes things more efficient and more powerful. Now with the device, we are getting a 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery, so definitely a generous level of battery capacity here with the phone, which is always awesome to see. So expect to get really good battery life with it. But now that we've gone over the major features and highlights of the Galaxy A42 5G, let's take a closer look at the hardware of the phone. So I know the back looks like it might be glass, but it is indeed plastic. Now taking a look at the left side of the phone, with the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. Then on the right side, we have the power button, volume down and volume up. Then up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the device, with the 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, microphone, and speaker. And then on the back of the phone, we have the camera setup, the flash, and the Samsung logo. So in general, a pretty minimalist design here with the phone. Definitely very simple all throughout. But that being said though, it does feature a nice, intuitive, and practical design. Now here is the box that the phone does come in. And again, keep in mind, based on which model of the phone you get and from where you get it, the box and what's included could be a lot different. For example, if you're getting the phone through a carrier, you might have a carrier-specific box that doesn't even look like this one. But you can see right here, A42 5G, same thing on the side. We'll lift the lid here. So we have an adaptive fast charger. We have 3.5mm headphones. We have a USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. We have a SIM card removal tool. And definitely, if you're buying this phone in the US, you're not going to be getting a clear plastic case, but this version of the phone, and there's the quick start guide, does have a clear plastic case included. So we are getting quite a few things here included in the box. So in conclusion, is the Samsung Galaxy A42 5G worth buying in 2022? That's really the big question here. And I would say overall, it is a good option, mostly because it has that very powerful Qualcomm Snapdragon 750 5G processor in it, so that's really good. That will hold up for quite a while and definitely cover the needs of most people when it comes to how they use their smartphone. I suppose it really comes down to, what better options are out there, and it really just depends on what offers at the time that you're watching this video are available for the device. Obviously, I'm expecting this video to be decently relevant all throughout the year, so it really depends on, if there's a certain promo going on or a certain sale for the Galaxy A42 5G, then that's definitely a great time to get the phone. But if you have to pay full retail price, maybe avoid it. And of course, if other brands are running their own sales, that's worth considering too. But on its own, the Samsung Galaxy A42 5G is still a solid phone, and I definitely do recommend it. I don't think you'll be disappointed, but again, just consider what else is out there, because as you know, the smartphone space is very competitive, even at the mid-range level. But this is the Samsung Galaxy A42 5G in 2022. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.